Hey all, Pi here, and we are back in Our Life, Beginnings and Always, and I'm gonna go ahead and date this video. I recently just found out that Patch Games, the dev team behind this game, are currently in the process of working on a new game with a similar premise, and I am excited. Trying to contain myself. I one thing at a time, right? But I hope after I finish this Let's Play of this game and do a couple other games and then come back to this to do all the DLC and another Let's Play, after all that's done, I'll be able to see about where they are with that next game. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that there's more, you know? I haven't even finished what's in front of me and I want to pile more on my plate, you know? But, enough of my rambling. Let's hang. You grabbed the large beach towel from off your bed and stuffed it into a bag. You had already packed your water bottle for your upcoming beach hangout session. The stars had aligned, and somehow everyone was free today. I know that feeling. When do you want to hang out? Well, I work all these days. Okay, well, when are you free? I work all these days. And scheduling anything as an adult is just a pain. Anyway, Miranda had set things up with several bubbly phone calls between you, Cove, and Terry to find a time to hit the beach. You were hoping this would be a fun time together. That's always the hope, that nobody gets drowned. Hello. Sorry, calm down. Cove sat on your windowsill and kicked one of his legs into the air idly. He already had his swimsuit on, and his towel was bundled under his arm in a misshapen ball. He'd shown up earlier that morning with a surprising amount of enthusiasm. He was chatting as you caught up to his preparation. But seriously, I couldn't find my swimsuit this morning. I looked everywhere. It had disappeared. I had no idea what I was gonna do. We're just gonna move on and not comment on what immediately went through my head. Ooh. I'm gonna be a little cheeky. Yeah, it completely vanished somehow, just like your old sand pail. You totally didn't just lose your stuff again.
Seriously?
Very funny, Joy. That was different, and I was 8. You'll never live it down! Anyways, I don't know why it was in the bathroom when I never put it there. He gave a small smile and readjusted the towel in his arms. You now could see that it had been folded at some point, but then rolled up and carried without much care.
I'm so glad.
I like adult Cove's voice. It's nice. But I'm just glad I found it. It would have been crappy to lose my favorite trunks. It was nice to see Cove so happy and comfortable in what he was wearing. You walked over to your dresser and mused about how you had picked out your own swimsuit. Your height had complicated shopping a little. Not all suits were made to properly fit people like you. Why is this so relatable? And then for the shape of your body... Oh, how have we changed? Gonna be a chubby buddy. And we'll say you had a little muscle definition, because, like, even though I have been overweight literally my entire life, I still have some definition in my arms and legs. I don't know how. I guess I'm just built that way, but we're going with that. One of these days, I might do a face reveal and you guys are gonna go back to these videos and try to piece together all the little tidbits that I gave you about my actual appearance, and you're just gonna be like, I wasn't expecting it to look like that. Your build was toned and firm, with muscles that were there, though slight in size. You had gained more muscle in recent years. It was clear when compared to how you were when you were younger.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about some things. What things? Just myself and my body, really. His eyebrows rose at your admission of self-reflection. And what do you think? What did you think of who you were? You considered your identity further. So, without getting too into my gender, because that is an entire thing I am not ready for right now to tackle with the internet. But I was not super... I wasn't even really sure what words to use for myself when I was at Joy's age. So I definitely wasn't comfy with gender yet. But also, I have to keep in mind that for Cove, they already kind of had an inkling of their gender even from childhood. So for them, I imagine they're pretty sure about all of this. So, just put that out there. You had no questions about that part. And I'll make Joy part of the itty bitty titty committee. You had small boobies. Can I say that on YouTube? You had small boobs. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get in trouble. They were notable enough to appear on your silhouette, though that was about it. You used a binder. You had several comfortable ones in different colors. People had a lot of their identity wrapped up in their physical form. It shaped their self-image. You weren't really content with yours. There were things you didn't like. You didn't hate it per se, but it wasn't all that you wanted it to be either. You had pretty much always been unhappy with your body. Even when you were younger, it felt off, and that still hadn't changed. You didn't feel like who you wanted to be. You focused on Cove again. He smiled at you and tilted his head, a question still in his eyes. He was waiting for you to come to an answer, but before you could, you had something to say to him. What do you think about me? About how I look, I mean. Cove frowned, his eyebrows furrowed in concern, as if he were trying to find the best words to say. Then his eyes warmed like he was looking at something truly special.
Joy.
Joy, you're wonderful. Aww. No matter what anybody thinks, you, me, anyone, you are still wonderful. It just can't be helped. It's a fact of life. Aww. Cove stopped speaking and looked at you for a moment. He kicked his feet as he considered something, and then nodded with a thoughtful expression on his face. He stared forward and directly met your eyes. I've known you for a long time, since we were kids, you know. I've seen you just about every day for the past decade, so I think it's fair for me to say this.
It's nice.
Each day you're different from before, just by a little bit. But you're also still the same. You're always you. It's nice to see you keep developing as a person. I do want you to keep being you, but the only one who gets to decide who that is you. You choose who you are today. You get to choose who you are tomorrow. That's okay with me. Honestly, I wish I had a Cove in my life, or like somebody like Cove, to just tell me, you're okay. You can be you. You're fine. So I'm gonna say, you smiled with tears. Moisture started gathering in your eyes, so you began to blink rapidly. You couldn't stop the tears from coming, even as you smiled so widely your cheeks hurt. What could you even say to that? Cove seemed a little concerned by your tears, but he smiled back.
Hey.
Hey, Joy. Cove gave a bent smile, pointing to your arms. You're looking particularly toned today. It's... He answered not with words, but a solid okay sign with both hands and the same cheeky smile. Cove suddenly flushed when he realized how boldly he'd complimented you. He stood by it, even if he was a little red. Good Cove. You were a little taken aback. That came out of nowhere. You glanced at yourself. I didn't know you liked my arm so much. Yeah. You started to flex and show off jokingly. You posed dramatically. You showed off your guns, fighting laughter. First the right, then the left. You then flexed both your arms and widened your stance in a stereotypical strong pose. He cracked a huge smile. Joy, this is too much for me to witness. Cove hopped up from his seat and fluttered his hands in front of you, gesturing for the display to stop, laughing the whole while. You thought on some level he might not have been fully kidding around with that. He was flustered. You gave the poor guy a break and put the goods back down. He exaggeratedly wiped his brow and let himself fall back into place on the windowsill. Finally, you felt that was enough of that topic for one day. You went back to your original goal before you got sidetracked. You needed to pick what you wanted to wear to the beach. Ooh. You wanted to wear swim trunks with a top. While you dug around in your drawers, you tried to think if there was anything else you were missing. You took goggles. With that taken care of, you held your outfit together and looked to Cove. He was tapping his toes on the side of the wall as he waited. You vaguely wondered if he thought that was a comfortable place to sit. You hoped so, given how long he'd perched on it. Regardless, it was time for him to go. You weren't going to put on your beachwear with him just chilling there. Well, I'm gonna change, so how about you wait outside? Cove nodded reassuringly. Alright. Cove lowered himself off the windowsill and strolled past you to get to the door. He lightly brushed his fingers against your cheek when he passed by.
Bye.
I'll see you out front. Okay. When you were alone, you got undressed and put your swimwear on. You also checked your beach bag for the final time, and it seemed like you hadn't forgotten anything. You left your room and hurried down the stairs, ready to meet Cove. You made sure to lock your front door and walked outside. Cove stood in the road, looking down and scuffing his feet on the asphalt. When you shut your heavy door, he looked up at you and smiled. Nice to see you again. Hi, Miranda and Terry are gonna be here in not too long. Terry even texted me earlier saying she was mostly on schedule. Shocking.
Well,
why don't we just head to the beach and wait for them there? We're both ready. That sounded like a good idea to you. You said as much, and Cove shot off a quick text telling the two of them where'd you be. Cove gave you a thumbs up after the message sent. It was a familiar path to walk, and it wasn't long until you reached the shore. Cove laid out his towel on the warm sand. You set up your stuff beside him and looked out onto the ocean. The rolling swells hit the shore rhythmically. You all had lucked out. It was a beautiful day. The sky was clear and the waves were good. It was a balmy summer day, but with a pleasant breeze to keep things comfortable. Essentially, it was perfect.
so?
Do you feel like heading into the water? Maybe just walk down the shore? Or would you want to do something here? My coworkers accuse me of being a lobster, because I typically give vague answers like this, but I'm gonna say either way is fine. What would you want to do? Maybe walk a little at first anyway? We can do that. Cove nodded, accepting of the plan. He kicked some sand off his towel absentmindedly. Yeah, sounds nice. You took a deep breath and tasted the relaxing salty air. Cove caught your eye and gave you a small smile. You chatted a little before a comfortable quiet settled over the two of you, content to watch the waves as you waited for the others. Luckily, it didn't take long until you heard shouts. You turned your head to see both Miranda and Terry running straight for you. Miranda was faster, making leaps and bounds across the sand. Terry followed in her wake, laughing with her towel clutched around her shoulders and flowing like a cape. I like these two. Miranda started making her jumps more theatric and more precarious as she got closer. Cove waved them on with a bright grin. You cheered at their antics. Woo! The two officially arrived at Cove's and your setup, looking completely ready for an ocean adventure. They were already in their swimwear and were raring to go. And their swimsuits are cute. Hey Terry, Miranda, welcome to our beach.
Hey!
Hi. Hello. She beamed and Miranda nodded with a smile.
Oh yeah!
Man, I'm so pumped. Yeah, I'm really glad this worked out. What have you guys been up to over here in your town? Cove? Joy? Have we missed things? Cove blinked and then shrugged when nothing he wanted to mention came to mind. You gave a recap over how your family was doing. Your moms were the same as ever for the most part, although they were definitely still adjusting to you being an adult now. Liz had asked you to take pictures of her latest makeup look the other day. There was nothing too dramatic going on right now. Terry nodded along and mentioned a couple things about her own parents. Miranda brought up her family and shared some of the wild things her older brother had done. Terry then started talking about her morning and how she'd almost overslept since she had stayed up too late last night. She bounced on her feet as she spoke. But don't worry about me being tired today. You know I ran on less back during school. Miranda filled in the group about her morning. Apparently everything had gone smoothly. She met up with Terry on the way here and you knew the rest. Cove offered a suggestion to the girls. Hey, let's walk while we catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Once everyone's stuff was settled on the beach, the group strolled over to the shoreline. The wet sand was cool under your feet. A wave rushed up and covered your ankles in water. You flinched from the suddenness of it, but by the next wave you were acclimated. You took another step forward and sank a little into the ground. Behind you, your footprints were soon smothered by the waves. Your friends chatted as you walked together. You took turns pointing out cool shells or pieces of sea glass. It was a relaxing jaunt. Hours passed, and the group had moved between different activities, some low-key and some more exhaustive. For you, it was another break time. You sat on your towel and sipped at some water. Your friends were hard at work burying Terry's full body under a pile. Miranda used her arms and forced up sand around Terry's sides. Cove worked on covering Terry's feet. You took another drink and closed your eyes. Eventually, a shadow passed over you, dampening the light that was still notable even behind your eyelids. You checked to see Cove had joined you there. He knelt down to dig around in the pile of assorted beach stuff in the middle of everyone's towels set up and pulled out the sunscreen. He took a seat next to you on his towel. He opened the bottle with a soft pop and began to reapply the cream. Hey. He ran his hands across his chest to work the sunscreen in, and you might have checked him out a little from the corner of your eye while still sipping some water. I see you, Joy. Want me to get your back? Oh, I like that. Oh, I see that blush. Okay, I'll do it. Thanks. You scooted up behind your boyfriend and reached a hand around his front so you could squeeze a small pile of sunscreen into your hand. You rubbed your palms together, spreading the cream out more evenly, then began applying it softly to his shoulder blades. From there you moved to the tops of his shoulders, the nape of his neck, down his spine. Cove was mumbling the entire time, but you couldn't make out what he said. He might not have even realized he was doing it himself. The tone of his voice and the look on his face got the message across just fine, however. He was happy. You were too. After he and you finished up, Cove let out a comfortable sigh and looked off into the distance. Gonna say something that's a little personal, but there is no feeling quite like having someone that you love and trust touch your back like that. I don't know how to describe it other than it is very comfy and it feels very good. But then he sighed again, this time in an exaggeratedly disappointed way. He wondered if he was going to sigh again, even more dramatically if you didn't say anything. You raised an eyebrow. You raised a questioning eyebrow. You made it half as dramatic as Cove's expression, and he had to stifle a smirk. Cove shook his head, comically despondent. His frown didn't match the sparkle in his eyes.
Don't worry about it.
I'm just becoming another jaded adult, that's all. Aww. Now you were really confused. You waited for him to continue, and his next sigh did not disappoint. It was the most ridiculously sad sigh you'd ever heard. Then he smiled a little. Mermaids aren't real. Fuck. Why you gotta hit us with the facts, Cove? What? That had not been what you were expecting. He continued. You know how much I liked mermaids as a kid? Well, merfolk as a whole. I really hoped that they were out there.
I
mean, the ocean's a big place, right? They could be somewhere. But the older I got, the more I had to accept it. They were just a fairy tale. He jerked his head over to the waterline and the rolling waves. They crashed against the shore and then drew back. This is a perfect beach for them. It's pretty and vast and never too crowded. If merfolk did exist, we definitely would have met one by now. Or at least we'd have heard of someone else seeing one. But nothing. He acted as though that result was a true bafflement. He let his head hang. I know, I too was disappointed when I discovered that unicorns don't really exist. I gotta let the dream go. You pretended to be shocked and disappointed. What? Mermaids aren't real? You looked at him and tried to get fake tears to start welling up in your eyes. I can't believe it. Cove chuckled a little to himself, eyes tilted off to the sea, his face still low. Maybe it's for the best. Let's say a merperson did happen to wash up on shore one day. He looked at you with a faux doleful expression. I could have lost my partner to their magical underwater world. I'd go with a merperson, but only if you could come with us too. Cove grinned. He hadn't expected that answer. You're a nice person, Joy. But what if they didn't want me? Would you seriously stay on land? You gave him a look. You meant what you had said. It'd only work if the offer was for both of you. Are you sure that's the right call? If a beautiful, kind merperson falls for somebody, I'm pretty positive that the sensible response isn't to turn around and say, no thanks, I'm gonna stay on land with a normal guy. Let's go for something a little serious. Cove, there's no one who could ever make me leave you. Merperson or not, we're together. Oh. He flushed and fidgeted on the towel. In a desperate attempt to do something, he picked up the sunscreen bottle he had dropped. Cove started playing with the cap, taking it on and off again. His smile seemed to grow before your eyes. I was just trying to joke around, you know. I know you were, but I wasn't. He giggled and continued to look deliriously happy. He had no way of going back to the joke. You couldn't help but feel happy at how much your words meant to him. Aww. And then you heard Miranda screech. Your attention immediately switched over to your friends. You saw that Terry had gotten impatient and shifted her legs. The walls Miranda had been meticulously building collapsed into a wet heap of sand. She surveyed the damage critically. We're gonna have to start over on that part. Do you just want to give up on this now?
No way.
The burial must continue. I'll try not to move anymore. Okay, if you're sure. I'll try to fix this. Those two. Miranda started to rebury her, and Terry shot her a thumbs up. She realized too late that moving her arm was a bad idea. More of the sand on her crumbled, and Miranda put her head in her hands. Aww. Cove caught your eye and started to drag himself up. Seems like we're needed. You agreed and followed him over to the girls. Miranda nodded at you both with appreciation, and the three of you did your best to finish the job. You all worked on a system of using just enough wet sand to help hold the rest together. With the three people, it didn't take long for Terry to be entombed. Terry grinned massively, and Miranda offered high fives. The pile was officially done. Oh yeah! You're very, very excited to be buried. Resembling the Kool-Aid man, she kicked herself out of the ground with gusto. Sand went flying in all directions, and Terry's shaped imprint was left behind. Miranda yelled again, and Cove chuckled. There probably wasn't a better way to get out of it. The four of you continued to have a good time. You went on a shell hunt. Miranda managed to find the biggest, while you found the most colorful. Cove caught a tiny crab. Yee! You did a bit of everything. There were impromptu games, just soaking up each other's company. However, after a while, you all had ran out of water, drinkable water anyway. Yeah, don't drink the ocean. That is, you don't know where that ocean has been? It's got all sorts of fish pee in it. Don't drink the ocean. It was decided that you'd head to your or Cove's house. Things were gathered, and you started to cheerfully walk up the road. What next? I don't have anywhere to go, so it could be whatever. Same. I guess we can keep hanging out. Terry snorted and readjusted her grip on her things. Don't sound too sure there, Cove. By this point, you could see your house. It hadn't taken you long to make the trip. The conversation continued with everyone throwing out suggestions. Are people hungry? She looked from face to face in inspection. Cove and Miranda shrugged in concert. No one was overtly opposed to it. However, you weren't really starving. It wasn't quite a mealtime. We could get dessert. Miranda put a finger to her lip and thought. With a smile, her voice became more confident. Yeah, that would be fun. Terry considered it and then shot Miranda a thumbs up.
Sure.
Sounds great to me. I can definitely go for that. You know, I'm up for more. But there's nothing sweet at my house. Your friends glanced at Cove and his place. He shook his head immediately. Dad doesn't have anything good either. I mean, unless you want dessert-flavored protein shakes. Ugh. No. Why would you subject yourself to that? No. Ew. Exactly, Terry. You are my spirit animal. She cut in and held her hands up as if trying to ward off something evil. Cove smirked.
Not bad.
It's not that bad. It's pretty bad, man.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah, just nope. Well, there has to be some kind of sweet shop around here. Let's look it up. Terry nodded and started to dig around in her bag. I like the way you think. Terry continued to rummage in her bag and grew increasingly frustrated. She puffed out her cheeks and knelt down, setting the bag on the ground. With both hands free, she was finally able to fish out her phone. She raised it up in triumph for a brief moment of celebration.
I'm on it.
I'll search for something good. Terry got back to her feet, hefting the bag over one arm, tapping away at her screen and the other. But she assessed Cove from top to bottom. No shirts, no shoes, no service. Cove glanced down at his bare chest and feet, having not even registered it prior. He chuckled a little. I'll grab something. Cove moved over to his house. You looked towards yours. I'm covered, right? You waited outside with the girls. You watched Cove disappear into his house. Terry was deep in the midst of scrolling through food options. You shuffled over to where you could see, and Miranda did the same. There's ice cream. People love ice cream, especially around here. I don't really feel like ice cream. Godless heathen, Miranda. Cool, because I don't either. Terry, how could you betray me like this? She flicked her finger up, and another ice cream place showed up. Melty Moo Moo's Frozen Treats with an unfortunate cartoon mascot. No. I like ice cream. It's just not for today. There has to be something else. You thought on it, and Terry kept scrolling. You had heard a door open, and Cove reappeared. Nice. You were about to be surprised at how quick he was, but then noticed he'd just thrown on a t-shirt over his swim trunks and slipped a pair of sandals on. Of course. I mean, why put extra effort in for no reason? Hey. Everyone else exchanged their respective greetings and then looked back at Terry's phone. Terry scrolled further and then made an interested exclamation. Oh, what about this place? They sell crepes. That's something you don't see every day. Look how fancy they are. If they sell crepes, they probably charge an arm and a leg for those crepes. Unless I don't know, maybe it's different if you don't live where I live, but like finding a place that sells like actual authentic crepes, first off, is really freaking hard, and secondly, it's always expensive. She shoved her phone into your face. It seemed like a cute shop. It didn't show any pictures of the actual building, but the food seemed good. It was one of those places that put a lot of effort into presentation, with branded wrapping for the crepes and well-applied toppings.
Huh.
Weird. I've never heard of it. I haven't either. Mysterious, but crepes are so good. Gonna say something controversial. I don't particularly care for crepes. I can't make them, because I guess I just suck at making thin pancakes, and I don't see the appeal. That's my 2 cents. She nodded her approval as Terry admired more of the photos. I'd go. It's not too far, but we could drive. Terry cheered at the success of a plan made, and you all walked around to Cove's car. He had to run inside once more to grab his keys. You wrote "Wash Me" in the dirt on his car. You noticed a thin coat of sand and dust on Cove's car. It had probably been a while since he'd washed it. With a smirk, you carefully wrote "Wash Me" with your finger.
Very nifty.
Good work. I wonder if he's even gonna notice. The car beeped and unlocked, and Cove ran up to you with his car keys in hand. His hair slipped into his face, and he brushed it back. Shotgun. She clambered into the passenger seat without hesitation. You didn't argue and climbed into the back with Miranda. Terry activated the directions on her phone and map and acted as their navigator, directing Cove to the crepes. The GPS tried to get Cove to turn into a non-existent road once and wanted him to do a U-turn instead of just using a left turn, but with Terry looking at the actual path, it went smooth enough. Oh, if that is not the pinnacle of all GPS adventures. God. The number of times, like, going downtown, the GPS has tried to get me to turn the wrong way down a runway road. Oh, I've lost so many years off my lifespan. You were led to a small stall in a parking lot rather than a full building. That explained why there hadn't been pictures of the crepery's interior, and why it was new to you despite living in this town your entire life. It was a completely new structure that popped up recently. There's a window you could walk up to, and one for cars to drive up to. Cove parked with a laugh.
Come on.
I don't think I needed to put a shirt on for this, but I still want to try it. Let's go.
What?
Do you not trust us to eat in your car? She gestured to the drive-through option. Cove shook his head with a snort. I trust some people here, maybe, but wouldn't it be more fun to actually check it out? Everyone acknowledged his point and piled out. Terry tried to tease Cove a little, but Miranda started talking about the last time she had crepes. Apparently they'd been a dessert explosion, topped with multiple sauces, powdered sugar, and what Miranda was pretty sure had to be cake icing. And that is entirely too much sweetness. I'm not into it. I guess I just don't like dessert. I don't know. I'm difficult. That's sweet.
So great.
Literally, it was so good, but I regretted it so much. I couldn't finish it all, and I really tried. You can do it this time, Randy. Oh, that's cute. There were some laughs. When you got up to the menu, you realized that there were more than just crepes. There were definitely crepes. Many crepes. However, the stall also had a lot of different drinks as well. Teas, smoothies, milkshakes.
Woo!
Jackpot! She grinned and held out her fist for a fist bump. Miranda high-fived it. Nice. The two stared at the awkward, vaguely turkey-shaped hand configuration they had made and then slowly put their hands down. Cove's mouth twitched in a smile. You stepped up to order first. You glanced back at the menu. I mean, how can you know how good the shop is if you don't sample at least one of everything, right? You ordered a crepe and a drink. Hello, I'd like to get a crepe and a drink, please. There was a woman who looked a little older than you taking the orders. She smiled back at you, ready to hear the specifics of your purchase. For the crepe you wanted... They got green tea? Fuck yeah, get in. For the Sorry, that was like immediate. I love me matcha. I literally just this morning had myself a matcha latte with oat milk and honey in it, and like, try it. Like, if you've never had a matcha latte like that, just try it. You might hate it, but if you hate it, you have no sense of taste. That's all I'm gonna say. For the fillings and toppings you picked, strawberries maybe? I don't know how matcha and strawberries would go together, but I feel like it would be a better combo than most of my options here. I do not like strawberries. Oh, I can get more than one, and that was all. After you picked the size, you were asked what you wanted to drink. You ordered... Ooh, I have so many options. A milk tea. You can also add a mix in or toppings for the drink. You chose to add boba pearls, because boba is amazing. And that is all I want in my tea. Like, the rest of this, no. Be gone. You paid and stepped aside to let your friends order. Cove got a lemon crepe with a pounded sugar on top and mixed berries. He also got a plain He also got a plain strawberry smoothie. Terry went crazy with the toppings. Although she ordered a plain crepe, she had it smothered with whipped cream, cream cheese, chocolate chips, chocolate syrup, and bananas. That is too much, Terry. Slow down. Miranda opted for a frap with caramel syrup and condensed milk. The four of you stood off to the side as you waited for your treats. I heard what you ordered, Joy. Glad I'm not the only one to go for a drink and a crepe. I couldn't pick just one, and why not? Exactly. It's gonna be good. I think yours sounds tasty, Joy. Thanks. Order for Joy? Oh, I've got to get that. You grabbed your order. The others didn't take much time after that. With the goods collected, everyone admired their treats. Terry dug right into hers, and Miranda gave hers a tentative sip. Terry nodded acceptingly with her mouth completely full. Miranda tilted the frap over to her with a grin. Terry sipped it and clearly loved it. She raised her crepe over to Miranda. You could tell that there was an intent to make it look nice, but with all the assorted toppings piled on, only so much could be done. Miranda took a huge bite with gusto and sighed happily. Terry seemed satisfied and took another slurp of Miranda's drink. They had both only gotten one thing, probably because they knew they'd end up sharing. Cove, do you want to share ours? His face lit up with excitement, and he passed you his crepe.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. You exchanged treats and took a chomp on the lemon crepe. It was light, with the sourness from the lemon and the sweetness from the syrup, the berry mix. The smoothie was finely blended with the occasional chunk of strawberry. Cove seemed to enjoy his taste, and then you swapped back. He smiled as he took a loud sip from his smoothie. Thanks. You always get good stuff. 'Cause I have exceptional taste. With that, Cove started to eat his treat in earnest. You saw him take a huge gulp of his smoothie, and then without swallowing, he added a bite of his lemon crepe. Slow down, Cove. Cove? Terry tore off a piece of her crepe and held it out to Cove.
So?
Care to make a trade? Sure. Instead of continuing to loiter in the parking lot, the four of you started to walk down the sidewalk. There was a lot of sharing going on, with crepe bits and toppings being passed around. You wouldn't have been surprised if Terry ended up drinking more frap than Miranda did. You kept going down the way, eating, drinking, and chatting. You hadn't realized just how far the group had wandered until you ended up at Now Leaving sign. Apparently you were about to just walk right out into the middle of nowhere. Don't do that. Terry took her mouth off Miranda's straw and stopped sipping the frap. Impossible. Preposterous. How are we already at the end? I always forget how tiny this town really is. Cove chuckled a little and swallowed a chunk of Terry's crepe.
I guess.
It kinda is, huh? It didn't feel that small when we were growing up. It definitely felt bigger then. There was a time when Sunset Bird had felt huge. It seemed as endless as the ocean. There was always some street you hadn't wandered down, something new for the tourist. But now, you had realized it was just a pond in this big, big world. Seeing the definite end only reinforced this. Here was the boundary that proved your hometown could be walked out of with ease. I guess this means we should probably head back. One doesn't just walk into nowhere land. Don't do that. We're not only one, Terry. There's 4 of us. Terry scrunched up her face, not wanting to acknowledge the bad joke. She decided to ignore it. It stinks having to go all the way back. Yeah, but it's not like there's anything out that direction. And if we did keep going forward, it'd be an even longer trip home. You stared off into the stretch of road as Cove agreed that he didn't want to go any further. We can take a break here first before we... Can we take a break here first before we turn around? We've been walking for a while, and someone finished my drink. Right on cue, Terry loudly sucked air from the straw. It was good. Miranda looked at her, but Terry remained unrepentant. In the end, though, it was agreed to hang out around the sign before heading back to the car. It didn't take long to finish the rest of the food and drinks. Everyone gathered up the trash and stuffed it into bags and pockets for now. The group relaxed on the grass, keeping account of all the cars that drove past. It was not a high number. 14. The newest passing car drove into town from somewhere outside. But as the vehicle came by, it slowed down and you watched as it ultimately rolled to a complete stop. The black car parked right next to the now leaving sign. Everyone exchanged a baffled look. But then the tinted window rolled down and the driver peered out. As soon as you saw his hair, you recognized him. No one else you knew presented themselves so distinctively. Oh, yes! Does he get any more voice lines? Hey neighbors. Cove openly sighed when he recognized him, afterwards sucking sulkily at the straw of his long empty drink. Aww. You waved at him. Let's be friendly. He leaned forward and tried to get a better look. His hands were loose on his steering wheel, and he seemed rather relaxed to have just pulled over on the side of the road. You waved and nodded in acknowledgement. And you thought about the odd picture this made. A fancy black car pulled over to talk to a group of teens, mostly still in beachwear. Miranda was incredibly confused and shrank back to watch. Terry tilted her head in an unspoken question. Cove made a quick gesture pointing towards Baxter, and a light bulb went off for Terry.
Alright.
Ah, that's the new person in the condo. The bee-man, right? I love that that's how she recognizes him. Yeah, Baxter. Oh, I wasn't sure if I'd ever actually see him. Her voice was quiet. Miranda usually got shy around new people. Terry was quite the opposite. Incredible, this is perfect! Terry hopped up from the grass and ran to Baxter's car, all full of excitement. Behind her, Miranda picked herself up and dusted imaginary dirt off her clothes. She sent a searching look to you and Cove, to which Cove shrugged. Miranda nodded and, with clenched fist, hesitantly followed Terry. Aww. Terry bent down to talk to Baxter through his window. She blasted through introductions, with Miranda putting in a shy wave. Cove looked at you. He still clearly had no intention of going over. Come on, Cove, be friendly. You encouraged Cove to come. Are you seriously gonna sit in the grass? Come on, time to get up and be polite. Cove pouted. His cheeks flared out in a childish puff. I don't want to. I don't know what to say.
Fine.
You can go. I'll just wait until he's gone. You can survive Baxter for a few minutes. Do you want to be the only person who doesn't go see him? Well, why can't you stay here with me instead? You sighed. He was definitely going to be difficult about this. Some days he really was that same grouchy 8-year-old you met all those years ago. Do you really hate him that much?
No.
No, I don't hate him. I get weird around him. I know his forwardness bothers you, but think of him like Terry. She's super friendly and loves to chat with new people. She's doing it right now. Terry doesn't hit on me. Terry doesn't hit on you. If that's what he's even doing. Baxter says serious things when I don't think he's actually very serious. That's what bothers me. It'll be alright. He's tried to do less of that with you, and we'll be there all... Bleh. He's tried to do less of that with you, and we'll all be there. With an unnecessarily whiny groan, he relented. Fine, let's go. Slowly progress forward was made, until you two arrived at the driver's side window. Baxter smiled welcomingly. Hello. Hey. Cove greeted him mildly, his expression cautious. Sup? Baxter gestured to Miranda and Terry. I just rented this car for my stay here and was coming back from a bit of sightseeing when I spotted your crowd. These two were kindly introducing themselves.
Uh-huh.
Yep, it's only polite. Speaking of polite, Baxter is giving us a ride. I was asking him to. What? Baxter shrugged guiltily, seeing Cove's dramatic reaction. The offer is open. And we're taking it. Oh. Okay. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You were just happy to get a ride. Regardless of anything else, you didn't want to walk back. That's what counted, and you were grateful to Terry for arranging it. Alrighty, plan made, let's hop in. You excitedly opened the passenger side door and buckled yourself in. The car was pristine, and you were right near the new car scented air freshener. Baxter had the air conditioner on cold, but low so it pleasantly cool inside. A nice relief from the summer sun you had been baking in all day. Your friends clambered on in back. It definitely seemed the slightest bit squished back there.
Does that sound alright?
Fucking love his voice! Whoever voiced Baxter, you did a good job. Welcome to my vehicle. I hope everyone is comfortable. And if someone could point me in the right direction, we can be on our way. You began to explain where you'd come from. It was pretty easy to direct him straight down the road and one turn into a parking lot. Baxter nodded from up in the driver's seat and pulled back into the road. Luckily, the street was still dead empty. It took no time at all for Baxter to park right next to Cove's car. There wasn't even enough time for a proper conversation to start. The occupants didn't seem to mind. There were smiles all around when Baxter parked next to Cove's car. Woo! Miranda clapped quietly as Terry cheered. Cove chuckled nervously. You smiled. You were glad to have reached your destination and pleased at the fanfare of your friends. You didn't say a word, but Terry and Miranda definitely caught your amusement. We've arrived. That was easy. Terry flung open her door and climbed out.
Thanks.
Everyone else exited the car as well. The group thanked Baxter with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Baxter himself got out too. Everyone congregated again in front of Baxter's and Cove's cars. Cove looked at the back of his and frowned. He'd finally discovered the wash me you put on it. I wonder who did that. It wasn't me, must have been the birds. You snickered along with Miranda, who realized you'd been caught.
Ooh.
It's a mystery. Right. Terry bounced over to Baxter and offered her hand for a handshake. He accepted it easily with a charming grin. You're a pal. You're too kind, but it was no trouble whatsoever. I'll be keeping this car all this summer. If it suits you, you're welcome to take my number and give me a ring whenever you're in need of another ride. And that goes for everyone here. I have a car. Cove is shutting that shit down. Terry busted into laughter and Miranda fidgeted. She did not know what to do with that. Baxter really went fast, didn't he? He noticed her discomfort and smiled with a soft tilt of the head. I'd be happy to help again, but that's the only reason I offered. If you don't need it, you can pass on it. Bold as fuck? Did I miss part of the conversation? Yes, I missed part of the conversation. You stayed silent. When her giggles subsided, Terry put a hand to her chin with brows furrowed. I wonder, would that option be available right now? You could valet us somewhere cool.
What?
Cove was taken aback. He put a hand on the hood of his car. Weren't we going back to the neighborhood? Wasn't Baxter going back to the neighborhood too? Why would we go somewhere else? Because we can. Miranda squirmed nervously and then committed to piping up.
Maybe?
We could go to the park near my place. It's a really nice place to hang out. You and Cove shared a look. The big park was pretty nice. Let's do it. Baxter tapped the side of his face and thought.
It's doable.
Fucking love his voice. He glanced at Cove and then switched focus to you.
Well,
we have 2 cars. If some people want to go to the park, I could still take the others home. But if everyone's going, it wouldn't make sense for me not to. I'm actually already over time, so I think I'll just leave it here for right now. Come back to this in the next episode. We'll see how much more of this step we have left. I imagine we'll get to see the outcome of whatever we choose here, but I feel like it should be coming to an end. So for a little bit, it'll be a little bit awkward on the breaks, I guess, for where I have to cut the videos, because I'm trying to keep them at a certain time frame. Anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. Even if you haven't enjoyed it as much as I have, I hope you've enjoyed it some. And I will see you again in 2 weeks.